They didn't invite me, but they charged it all to my card. My name is Aaron, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because tell me honestly, have you ever been used so beautifully that they made it look like kindness? The betrayal didn't explode all at once. It dripped slowly. First, I noticed the charge. $3,200, Party Poppers Events. I blinked. What was that? I called the number. The woman on the line was cheerful. Yes. Rooftop baby shower? Gorgeous balloon wall, themed treats, DJ, the works. Paid in full under Aaron Caldwell's card. You've got style, girl. My heart dropped. I hadn't booked a shower. I hadn't even been invited to one. I called my mom. She answered on speaker. Laughter in the background. Aaron, now's not a good time. We're still cleaning up confetti. Mom, what's Party Poppers Events? Why is it on my account? She went silent, for a breath too long. Then, oh honey, we thought you'd be uncomfortable at the shower. You've always said babies make you anxious. That was from 5 years ago, after my miscarriage. She kept going. Anyway, we didn't want drama, but we included your name on the thank you card. Isn't that enough? Enough? I stared at the ceiling. My hand trembled. That's when my phone buzzed again. Instagram. My sister-in-law, not even my sister, had posted a photo from the party. My sister was smiling next to a balloon wall that read, "Welcome, baby," holding up a tiny onesie that said, "Auntie's money." The caption? Fully funded by our favorite fool clinking Lass's money bag. I froze. The rage didn't come in heat. It came in clarity. I walked to my computer, logged into my bank. First, froze the card. Second, filed a fraud report. Third, screenshot every charge, every message, every post. They thought I'd stay quiet. Again. Because I always did. When they borrowed my car for emergencies and returned it with an empty tank. When my sister cried that her credit was bad and I co-signed her first apartment and then covered 3 months of missed rent to avoid eviction. When my mom called me selfish for not helping plan the baby shower for the real daughter who deserved joy. But this was a funeral. Not for the money. For the version of me who let this family walk over me. While smiling. I typed one line into the group chat. Fools done funding. Check your inboxes. That was just the beginning. The read receipts came in. One by one. Then silence. Delicious, telling silence. Because guilt has no defense when the receipts are organized. And what they didn't know was that this fool had been saving more than money. I had something else now. Power. And when I used it, they would wish the only thing they lost was my credit card. It always starts with, "You're so generous." But what they mean is, "You don't fight back." That was my role in this family. The fixer, the helper, the invisible ATM with a polite smile and no boundaries. I didn't earn that role. It was assigned. It started small. It always does. When we were kids, if my sister Kelsey broke something, I got in trouble for not watching her. If she cried over homework, I stayed up past midnight doing her assignments, because Aaron's the responsible one. And by the time we hit adulthood, the pattern had already calcified into stone. Kelsey got to be soft, chaotic, adored. I got to be useful. When our dad passed, I was the one who handled all the funeral arrangements. Mom couldn't deal with logistics. Kelsey couldn't face the grief. They both arrived to the church late, wearing designer sunglasses and fresh blowouts, while I stood holding the urn. No one said thank you. That's the phrase I became allergic to. "You're so good at managing things." Which was code for, "We don't have to take responsibility. Aaron will cover it." And I did. For years. Kelsey wanted to start a small candle business. I funded her Shopify subscription and bought her first inventory. When she ghosted her landlord after 2 months, I was the emergency contact they called. I paid. Not because I'm a fool, but because I didn't know I was being conditioned. Mom had a way of guilt-tripping that felt like love. "She's your sister, Aaron. She's going through so much. Money comes and goes, but family's forever." And then the sharpest knife, always disguised as kindness. I just wish you were more emotionally available like Kelsey. You're so good with numbers, but maybe not so much with people. Translation: you're a calculator, not a daughter. Even in therapy, I used to say things like, I know they don't mean to hurt me. I just think I'm more sensitive. But no, I wasn't more sensitive. I was being drained. Slowly. With a smile. Until now. Until the balloon wall. The thank you card. The Instagram caption. Until they left a $3,200 event on my back without a single warning, then laughed like I was the family's punchline. They didn't invite me to the baby shower. Because they didn't need me there. They needed my wallet. But here's the twist. They thought they still owned the narrative. That I would stew quietly, maybe cry, maybe ghost them for a week, then eventually come crawling back, like always. They forgot something important. I'm not just a giver. I'm also an analyst. A woman who knows how to track, document, organize, and escalate. A woman who's spent years funding their comfort, while building her own stability in silence. And what they didn't know was that the fool had finally learned to itemize everything. And I was just getting started. Because if they wanted a family drama, they just stepped into the wrong episode. I always knew Kelsey was selfish, but I didn't realize how systemic the betrayal was until I opened that folder. Let me back up. After I froze the card and filed the fraud report, I got a call from my credit union's fraud department. A woman named Chelsea walked me through the details. We flagged this charge because it was unusually high and from an event planning vendor, she said. Did you authorize it? No. We'll open a case. By the way, it's not the only recent charge that looked odd. Excuse me? There's also a $1,750 baby furniture purchase from Sweet Nest Interiors, same billing address as the party company. Shall I send you a breakdown? I nodded, stunned. When the file hit my inbox, it was like getting punched in the chest. 5 charges. All made in the last 60 days. All sent to addresses that weren't mine. Crib. Stroller. Balloon arch custom catering. Even a prenatal spa package. Each one tied to my card. I called the vendor numbers listed. Played dumb. Asked where the purchases were going. And every single one? Shipped to Kelsey's apartment. She didn't just throw a party on my dime. She set up her entire motherhood launch pad using my financial identity like it was a blank check. I called Mom, voice low but tight. You knew about this, didn't you? Don't be dramatic, Aaron. Kelsey was in a tight spot. Her credit's still recovering, and she needed help getting started. Help? You're telling me you helped her steal from me, and then posted a thank you card? She had the audacity to sigh. We just thought you'd come around. You always do. And that was the moment it clicked. They weren't sorry. They were confident. Confident that I'd keep the peace. That I'd carry the weight. That I'd blame myself for overreacting and eventually send another transfer just to move on. Because to them, I wasn't a sister. Or a daughter. I was a line of credit with a pulse. I checked Kelsey's Instagram again. More photos. More comments. One stood out. OMG, this baby is gonna be so spoiled, faced with tears of joy. Can't believe you got Aaron to pay for everything, LOL. That wasn't just betrayal. That was conspiracy. So I messaged Chelsea from the fraud team. I said, update the case. I want to press formal charges. She paused. Even if it's your sister? Especially because it is. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from strangers. It comes from finally holding family accountable. And I knew this wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the system they built, where Kelsey was the golden one, and I was the utility. I was done being useful. It was time to be unforgiving. And it started with an email to my company's legal department, attaching every invoice, every screenshot, every thank you card. I didn't just want to freeze her spending. I wanted to freeze their assumptions that I would stay quiet forever. Because when a fool wakes up, she doesn't beg. She burns the blueprint. You don't recover from a betrayal like this with screaming. You recover by planning. By building a wall so high they'll never see over it again. That night, I opened my family folder, a digital archive I had kept for years. Every receipt, every bank transfer, every text, every email where I'd just help out this once. It was all there, neatly labeled. All those emergencies I paid for, I had proof. I created a spreadsheet. 3 tabs. Tab 1. Unauthorized charges, $7,850. Tab 2. Past loans, $21,400. Tab 3. Emotional labor I'll never be repaid for, priceless. Then I opened a new document. Statement of revocation. I wrote in plain terms that I was rescinding all financial support to my family, effective immediately. No more co-signed leases. No more just until Friday Venmos. No more emergency pickups. No more emotional cleanup. I sent it with one sentence in the email subject line. The fool has retired. Then I printed physical copies. One for my attorney. One for my HR department to notify them of potential fraud in case it impacted my work credit. One that I dropped in the mail to Kelsey, certified and signed for. But the move I'm proudest of? The email I sent to the event planner, the furniture vendor, the spa, and the catering company. These transactions were unauthorized. They are now part of a criminal fraud investigation. Vendors panicked. Refunds began trickling in. Inventory was retrieved. One poor delivery guy showed up at Kelsey's building to repossess a luxury rocking chair. She screamed on Instagram Live. I didn't flinch. Then I filed a small claims case. Not because I needed every penny back, but because principle matters. They mocked me publicly. They used my name, my credit, my trauma as a party theme. So I made sure to upload every Instagram post and story into evidence, especially the one that said, fully funded by our favorite fool. Let the judge see what love looks like in my family. But I wasn't just focused on revenge. I was preparing for peace. I started therapy again, this time not to survive them, but to survive me. To rewire the reflex that told me I had to earn love by fixing other people's messes. I changed my phone number, filed a name removal from all joint accounts and old leases. I called my bank and requested that no one, not even a relative, could ever access my accounts without a direct PIN and photo ID. Every lock they left open in me, I changed. Every door I held open, I shut, then bolted, then bricked. The best part? I didn't tell them everything. They didn't know the lawsuit was coming. They didn't know the refunds were reversing party joy into party debt. They didn't know I'd added a clause to my will that excluded anyone who attempted financial abuse, retroactively. They thought this was just a tantrum, but it was a transition. From silence to strategy. From victim to architect. Because I wasn't just done funding their dreams. I was ready to build my own. And they were about to see just how expensive losing me would really be. It started with a text from Kelsey. WTF, Aaron. The rocking chair is gone. They came to my apartment and took it. You're sick. No greeting. No apology. No recognition of what she did. Just rage, the kind entitled people feel when consequences actually show up. I didn't reply. Because by then, the caterer had filed a refund dispute too, and the decorator had posted in a vendor group chat warning others not to accept future bookings from the Caldwell baby shower family. Her words, not mine. Mom called next, not to apologize, but to scold me. You're embarrassing us. You froze the card, now people are saying things. You know how that reflects on our family. I let her talk. I let her huff and puff and circle around her favorite narrative, that everything I did was somehow dramatic or overreacting. Then I spoke. Mom, you stole from me. You enabled Kelsey to commit fraud. And you gaslit me when I asked for the truth. You want to talk about embarrassment? Try shame. She went quiet. I hung up. That night, I got the court date for the small claims case. A few days later, I emailed everyone who had contributed to the baby shower. Not family, but Kelsey's friends, her boyfriend's coworkers, her yoga instructor. All the people who had tagged "Thank you, Aaron" 2 hearts under party photos. I simply said, hey, I thought you should know this party was thrown using my identity without consent. Charges have been reported. Vendors have been notified. I recommend you save any receipts. Kelsey posted a long sob story to her Instagram stories the next morning. Some people just want to ruin joy. Not everyone wants a baby to be celebrated. It's okay. We'll rebuild without toxic energy. She tagged no one, but everyone knew, because the same night, the event planner went live on TikTok and said, "We got scammed. Baby shower queen paid with stolen funds. We're not letting this one go quietly." It went viral. The phrase Balloongate started trending. And the comments? They eviscerated her. "Stealing from your own sister? Girl," she said, fully funded by a fool. Turns out she was the only fool. Hope that onesie fits in court. Meanwhile, I walked into my courtroom like I was showing up to collect. The judge reviewed every screenshot, every charge, every message. He glanced at Kelsey and asked, "Do you have proof that she consented to any of these charges?" Kelsey stammered. Then she tried to cry. "She's my sister. I thought it was okay. We've always helped each other." I handed the judge one last thing, a spreadsheet of every time I helped her before. Labeled, dated, signed. The judge nodded slowly and said, "You have 30 days to repay every dollar or face further action. This isn't helping. It's fraud." Kelsey didn't look at me once as she walked out. Mom followed her. No one said a word. But I wasn't done. Because the next step wasn't about them. It was about me. I was about to leave the family group chat. But first, I changed the name to "The Fool's Last Words." Then I sent a single line. "Next time you want to throw a party, use your own name and your own damn money." And I left. Just like that. One click. One exit. No noise. No apology. Just power. You can always tell when people are losing control, not by their shouting, but by their silence. The group chat went dead after I left. No attempts to pull me back. No fake apologies. Just nothing. But outside that silence, their world was unraveling. First came the financial fallout. My fraud claim triggered red flags on Kelsey's credit. She couldn't open a new line or apply for a store card without being flagged for identity misuse. Then, the caterer filed her own lawsuit, small claims like mine but public. The case number was online. People noticed. Local gossip pages picked it up. The story spread fast. Mommy influencer throws shower with stolen card. The comments were ruthless. She scammed her own sister? Didn't she post about loyalty last week? Baby shower grift era grimacing face. Kelsey went dark on social media for the first time in years. But it didn't stop there. I received a message from her landlord. Not sure how he found me, but he said, "Hi Erin. I believe you were financially responsible for past rent payments at this address. I'd like to confirm that's no longer the case." I wrote back, formally and clearly, "Correct. I am no longer connected to or liable for anything concerning Kelsey Caldwell. Any arrangements she fails to uphold are solely her responsibility now." He replied 2 words, "Understood. Thanks." Within a week, I heard from a mutual friend that Kelsey had missed rent again and that her boyfriend had stepped back to regroup. Then came the email from our mom. Not a call, not a visit, an email. We may have made some mistakes, but at the end of the day, family is still family. I hope you'll reconsider. We don't have much left to lean on. Things have been hard for Kelsey. No apology, no ownership, just guilt packaging, disguised as an olive branch. I didn't reply, but I did do something else. I posted a simple quote on LinkedIn of all places. It read, "Sometimes the best inheritance you leave behind is knowing your value and refusing to let anyone else discount it." I didn't tag anyone, didn't explain a thing. But Kelsey's ex-boyfriend liked the post. So did the former event planner. And the real cherry? My therapist messaged me privately and said, "You didn't just draw a boundary. You built a wall with windows so you could watch the peace grow." Because that's exactly what I was doing. I started baking again. Something I hadn't done since before the family chaos swallowed my weekends. I picked up weekend hiking. I took a spontaneous trip to Seattle by myself. I started sleeping without clenching my jaw. And for the first time in my life, I stopped waiting for the next crisis from my family. There was no next crisis because I wasn't answering anymore. And when people say things like, "But that's your mom,"
or
"You only have one sister," I just smile and reply, "You also only have one nervous system, and mine deserves better." Because I didn't burn bridges. I just built a better life on higher ground. And the view? Spectacular. I didn't announce anything. There was no dramatic "I've moved on" post. No grand monologue to the family about finding myself.
I didn't owe them that.
I just started doing what I'd never been allowed to do.
Live. For me.
I moved out of my cramped apartment, the one I'd stayed in because I was always budgeting for someone else's fire. I found a sunlit place with arched windows and hardwood floors that creaked like an old friend whispering, "You're home now." I paid for it in full. No cosigners. No IOUs. No guilt. Every time I opened the door, it reminded me that peace doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes it's just a quiet Sunday morning with the sound of bread rising in the oven, not your blood pressure. I launched a side project I'd been dreaming about for years, a budgeting app for women stuck in toxic financial cycles. I called it The Line because everyone has one, and once you cross it, you don't go back. To my surprise, it took off. An investor reached out after hearing my story, anonymously shared through a friend of a friend. Within 2 months, we were scaling. That old story of the fool who just gave and gave?
Gone.
Now, I was the woman who helped other women cut the rope before they were too tangled to breathe. One day, I got a card in the mail. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. It said, "I miss you. I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared, and you were always strong. I hope you can forgive me one day." Kelsey. Inside was a photo of her baby. I looked at it for a long time. Not with anger. Not even with sadness. Just distance. Like staring at an old room you used to live in before the roof caved in. I didn't throw it out, but I didn't call her either. Some wounds don't need closure. They just need space to scar over and stay closed. Later that night, I lit a candle. The scent was warm vanilla. The brand? One of the same suppliers Kelsey had wanted to use back when she pitched that candle business I funded and then got ghosted on. This time, I wasn't helping her chase a dream. I was living mine. I sat down at my window, looked out over the city, and whispered something just for me. "You did good, Aaron. You didn't deserve any of it. But you turned every bruise into a boundary." I could have stayed angry. Could have chased a bigger revenge. But that would have made them the center of the story again. And they weren't. I was. I always had been. They just kept cropping me out of the picture.
Now?
I was in full frame. And the future, the real one, was mine to color in. 3 months after I left the group chat and the courtroom, the family threw another party. This one? A quiet birthday dinner for my mom. I wasn't invited, but I knew about it because Aunt Valerie accidentally CC'd me on the "What dish are you bringing?" chain. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel a sting. No ache. No hunger for a seat at a table where I was only ever fed crumbs. Instead, I ordered myself sushi. The expensive kind I used to skip to save for family things. I lit one candle, poured one glass of wine, and made one final toast. To family, the kind you choose. The kind that doesn't use you, break you, or rename you the fool. Then I smiled and blew out the candle, not for anyone else, but for the girl I used to be. The one who would have run back after that dinner. Who would have apologized just to make peace. Who would have covered that $17,000 and told herself it was love. She was gone. In her place, a woman who had learned something sacred, that you can mourn a family while building a legacy, that being the outsider is often the only way to finally see clearly. A week later, I got an email from a publication that had picked up my budgeting app story. They wanted to feature me. The headline? From Family ATM to Financial Architect, How One Woman Reclaimed Her Power. I said yes. They asked if I had a closing quote for the article. I did. I wrote, "They called me a fool, but I was never foolish. I was just faithful to the wrong people."
Now,
I invest in myself. And the returns? Speak volumes. They loved it. It went viral. I received messages from women around the world, sisters, daughters, even mothers, thanking me for saying what they couldn't say aloud. Some left their own toxic systems after reading it. Some started their own apps. Some just stopped apologizing. But all of them reminded me, this wasn't just a personal story. It was proof that silence can be broken, that betrayal doesn't get the last word, that healing isn't loud, but it is absolute. And when you've been used up, broken down, and pushed aside, you don't need revenge that screams. You just need a life that whispers, you made it anyway.
So I did.
And every now and then, when I get a message from someone saying, "How did you walk away from everything?" I tell them, because it was never everything if it didn't include me. And that's the real closure. Not their apology, not their guilt, not even their loss, but my freedom, unrented, unborrowed, undeniably mine.